If you were one of the few hundred who saw the first 2 attempts of this video post on my channel, please forgive me. That was an unintentional mishap. The download of the video seemed to jumble up all of the music and special effects, and it just became some weird ass like tweaker video.
On his tippy toes, man, because they don't get out here, run for your life.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I told you.
Not my intention. So let's take 2, or what was it? Take 4. This video is about kratom and hair loss. I go into what they say is a common side effect. First of all, there are side effects to pretty much everything in life. Now, if you drink coffee, some side effects are a headache, a crash. There are side effects to medication that the doctors warn you that this might happen. There are common and then very uncommon side effects, and you take a risk no matter what. Fact is, we willingly accept side effects as the most likely thing we have to deal with when we try something new. And usually they're doable. You get over it, it lasts a couple weeks, and you move on. Rare side effects is also mentioned, and they're not as common. And even then, we take that risk that there is a possibility we might get one of the rare ones. But it all comes down to this. With kratom, does kratom really cause hair loss? I'm going to go over some theories that people have said as to why they believe it does, and ways you could prevent it or stop it from happening if you believe one of those theories. Then I'll share my personal opinions throughout and just sprinkle it in as I always do. Unfortunately, with the constant legal battle of keeping kratom legal or getting it legal here in the United States, it doesn't help that there is not enough research yet that we can base all of our opinions and theories on. Not enough data to kind of support either or. So a lot of it is simply opinion or the majority thought or theories, like I said. Now there's groups like Reddit that people will go to. There's one on Reddit here that has over 116 followers, and they will talk about different kratom topics. And it was there that I got my opinion on what people were saying and how much were saying what. And that's where I began my documenting the theories that are out there. And I've been with kratom and advocating it for almost a decade now. So there are different theories that have come out. And I wanted to recircle that, circle back to those, and kind of figure out where people are at these days, what percentage, and what I might think in it, and what ways we can help avoid that. Or what thoughts, because I like to educate people. That's why I'm here. That's why I started videos many years ago before anyone else was doing kratom educational videos. So I'm going to keep doing what I have been known to do. And mind you, this is like my 3rd YouTube channel because people have tried to shut me down so many times, and I finally found a way to just stay off YouTube's radar. Disclosure, this video is for educational and research purposes only. I am not endorsing any product. I'm not telling you that you have to take this drug. None of that. I am completely within the guidelines of YouTube. So out of the question that they talked about in this Reddit forum about hair loss and kratom, about 50% agreed that it does cause hair loss. Now there are theories. I went to websites, to blogs, I went to AKA, I went to all different kinds of sources to find this list of theories and why many people think that. The first theory is kratom pesticides. Many people believe that the farmers, once they harvest it and get it ready to ship overseas, during that whole harvesting process, they put pesticides on the trees to prevent mold or any kind of other issues that happen to plants in general. Those pesticides would be causing that side effect. So that's why it's so important that when you do receive the product overseas, if you buy it overseas, which it comes from overseas, so yeah, someone at one point buys it overseas, they need to test it to ensure that it's pure, clean from any kind of contaminants, which is so important. The second theory is that kratom is an opioid, right? Kinda. both are reactive of the receptors, and both help with pain. So side effects to painkillers, when you take so much painkillers, at one point hair issues will be inevitable as a side effect. So they think because that's the case with painkillers that it would be the case for kratom. The third theory is that kratom is, it's a big word, immunostimulant properties. Kratom has immunostimulant properties.
Woo, good job.
There's a doctor in Malaysia that believes that adulterated kratom powder sent overseas is the reason for the hair loss issues. There are two reasons why this doctor would think so. Kratom immunostimulant and potential contaminants in kratom that get shipped overseas is why. Now, it is different from the first theory because what this does, it boosts the functions of your immune system so much that it causes your immune system to attack the hair follicle, which causes the inflammation to the scalp, which cuts off the hair follicle's blood flow, resulting in hair loss. Now, keep in mind that that is extremely rare, and that happens in those rare cases, but with a common case where that happens is with chemo patients taking chemotherapy. That's why you lose your hair if you're on chemo 99% of the time, because that's what your system does. Now, it's obviously a huge evasive process that you go through. So it is a very rare situation that would cause that a person would get to that point with their body and their immune system that it would do that. But it's one of the theories. So what's true? Again, unfortunately, not enough research to back up any of these and confirm that one is true or be confident one isn't. But let's just face it, hair loss is a very common thing. Set kratom aside, set all these medications aside. Hair loss is something all of us tend to go through at one point or another in our lives. And the majority of the time, it has nothing to do with medication. Here are some common reasons people lose hair or have hair issues in general. These are the majority of cases. Not in order, because everyone's different, but 90% of the time it's one of these things. Your hairstyle, typically for women or men who do the cornrows. Pulling your hair up tight for long periods of time will eventually weaken your scalp and you'll lose hair. Another thing is vitamin deficiency. The diet, that's really important. How much supplements you take, how healthy you are. How healthy is your lifestyle? That's mainly of the consumptions that going into your body. Rapid weight loss, which can tie into kratom. A lot of people consume kratom to help lose weight. So rapid weight loss, hair falling out, goes hand in hand without even kratom being in the picture. Giving birth. Now that is where I had that experience. After giving birth, usually there's a period about the year after that your hair just falls out. And that's because during the pregnancy process, you accumulate and you have glowing skin and beautiful thick hair because of what your body's doing. I'm not even going to go into how it's the case. But your hair begins to fall out in massive chunks after you give birth. And that's how I had a hair issue, and it had nothing to do with kratom. So take it from someone who's been consuming kratom for almost a decade. I've never had an issue in my period of years where I was convinced or thought that kratom was causing hair loss or hair damage or hair issues at all. The only times where hair was a problem for me is when after I gave birth. Nothing to do with kratom, and I've taken all kinds of different size of doses daily for months straight. So I've tried every different scenario with kratom, and I've never had an issue with hair loss. Now, you guys should know me at this point if you're following me, if you're new. Hi. I talk about kratom and other holistic alternatives and alternative lifestyle choices in life. I am not one that's going to sugarcoat anything. Kratom can be addicting to many people, mainly the people that already have an addictive personality. You can become addicted to anything. Kratom is no exception. Kratom does have side effects, and kratom is not for everyone. The majority looking for things doesn't help the cause and the work that's going into keeping this plant legal or getting it legal. Don't jump to conclusions. That doesn't help. It doesn't help you get to the cause of it quickly. It doesn't help others in how they view Kratom. So please be certain before you spout it all over the internet and claim that Kratom is doing something to you. Be certain that it is. Educate yourself. Watch videos of me and other people helping educate people on Kratom. It's important that you don't just demonize something. Kratom's addicting, it ruined my life. No, your personality ruined your life. You have an addictive personality. Don't blame Kratom. Just like you don't blame the car for a car wreck and someone dying. You don't blame a gun. And so how do we prevent this or stop this from happening? Here are the top 4 things you should do or keep in mind about Kratom and hair loss. I recommend ruling the things out first. Now that means check out your diet, check out your supplements, check out your vitamin deficiency. Go through the list of the things that I said that commonly causes hair issues and make sure none of those are it. Most of the time, it's that. Now, if you conclude that it is Kratom, the last 3 things are things that you should do to help with that side effect. Increase your foods and supplements, that healthy lifestyle that is so important to have. And being healthy avoids the stress which causes hair loss. So, hair pulling out because you're so stressed out, that's a thing. That's where it came from. You lose your hair when you're stressed. Your diet is important to keep you healthy, to keep your mood stabilized. The third thing is make sure you buy from a good vendor, a legit business that tests their Kratom, that are providing clean products from a warehouse, from a clean room, not from their kitchen or basement or the guest room. Buy from legit businesses. Yeah, they're a little pricey, and you know why? Because they do all the things they're supposed to do to provide best quality products. And the last thing, which is probably the most important thing, do not take more Kratom than you should take for your weight and unique anatomy. A lot of times when you do take too much Kratom, and this circles back to the whole immunostimulant issue, you have so much in your system that it might cause hair loss. It might cause these side effects to definitely happen because you're taking too much. And at that point, you're on the risk of having to admit you're an addictive person with this substance. So make sure that you take a reasonable dose, and if you can take breaks, take breaks. Now if you're like me and you live with a chronic illness and you really can't go a day without something helping the pain or issues that you're going through, it's hard to just stop Kratom. That's when I recommend something called Stim and Vein, which I'll be releasing a new video about that next week. But right now there's a post already on my blog, so you can go check that out if you want to jump to that. So I'll conclude with this. Again, there's side effects to everything out there. And at some point, you really have to ask yourself, does the side effect, does the product itself and all the benefits it gives you outweigh an inconvenient side effect? For me, if this was an issue I was dealing with, hell yeah, it's worth it. For chronic illness and people that suffer from chronic illnesses, something like this that has hardly no side effects compared to Percocet or Vicodin that has a shit ton of side effects, I'll take nature over chemical any day. And there has been study out there that for some reason, hair loss is not a reported issue at all for people in Indonesia that consume Kratom, like it's a daily staple. So I find that odd, and that is why that doctor from Malaysia was saying that it must be an issue for the United States people because of the contaminants. She might be onto something, because apparently they don't have that issue overseas. So again, is Kratom worth it? For me, yes it is. And when you really look at all the things that you put up with, regardless of any side effects, you gotta self-reflect on this one and make a personal choice. But don't demonize something and jump to something without doing more research, because odds are you're not completely healthy in all other areas in your life. Kratom is a natural, healthy alternative. So be careful demonizing something. And I mean that not in the quite literal sense, but just to blame something outright. Be careful, because we need more support for these natural things. And lack of education and knowledge produces people that just want to jump to conclusions and ignore the 99% of the cases, reasons that would happen in the first place.